Welcome to Discover Joyous Love with Anita DeFrancesco as your host. This is a hybrid of topics under the subjects of mindfulness, sexuality, and relationships. Hello, everyone. This is episode 29. And today I have a very, very special guest with me, Dr. Susan Kaye, who is the author of her new book, Am I Normal If? Now, before we get into talking to Dr. Susan Kaye, I'd like to just give you a little bit of background on who she is. First of all, she is a sexologist and the founder of Integrative Mind-Body Therapies, LLC. She has a Facebook group, and she can be found in many different places on the internet, and she'll give us that information when we get to the end of the interview. But she is a very interesting person and has found the compassion, love, and joy in this work of Integrative Body-Mind Therapies, LLC. Her book, Am I Normal If? What a terrific title. Hello, Dr. Kaye, how are you?
Hi, Anita. I just love listening to you talk. You're really good at this stuff.
Yeah, well, I've known you so long and you've come such a long way. Is this your first book, may I ask, or your second, is it?
Well, my first book was my dissertation. And at that time I said, I'm never writing another book. Well, here I am. But yeah, dissertation's like writing a book.
Well, Dr. Kaye hails out of Philadelphia, Texas, in the Austin area, and also Los Angeles, but you're spending most of your time in Texas, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yep, I've landed here.
Yeah, so we have roots together, Dr. Kaye and I, from Pennsylvania, Pottstown or wherever it is.
Yeah, that's where I grew up with the Amish.
Wow, so you've come such a long way. So tell me, what inspired you to write this book? And you've been writing it a while, or let's start just what inspired you and what's the book about?
Yeah, so what inspired me is the title, because that's what I hear in my office all day. And even at having professorships, people want to know, well, what's normal, inside of, because the topic that I'm teaching generally is sexuality. And there's a whole lot of misunderstandings or judgments about what's normal inside our sexual lives. And I said, well, what if we just take a look at what's natural for you? Because normal is this neat box that people want to put us in, and the box changes. Like it changes with fashion, it changes with politicians, it changes with music, like what's the latest song or latest movie star. We want to have her eyebrows, or we want to dress like this person. Being fitted, feeling that you fit in is underneath it. And as you know, working with clients and people who come in with their childhood trauma still intact and running the show, and they feel like they don't fit in because they're not, quote, normal.
So let's go back to, tell me more about the book. Before we go into the book a little more, what do you do that your work revolves around this title in this book? So you work with a client base struggling with living life from the neck down. Let's talk about that, what you do actually. And the book is for anyone or for a specific clientele. So let's go there right now.
Yeah, no, I think the book is for everyone. I think everyone can identify with feeling out of place or not quite in with the crowd, or how do I dress to fit in, or my orientation is different, so am I going to be accepted? I think everyone struggles with some level of, am I normal? And what my work is when we do their intakes, you go back to those earliest memories, because when we're 0 to 5, maybe even in uterine, we are gathering information through our senses. We're like little computers, like with a download going on through our senses. And that's how we read and register our world. And that's those early memories get cemented in our physiology, and especially around touch. You know what people suffer and struggle with around either the lack of touch or abusive touch, hurtful touch. You know, touch is such a huge component of our early development. And that carries, I can trace a 55-year-old virgin sitting in front of me. I can trace their story from their like early first 5 years to this virgin sitting in front of me.
Interesting. So it's a challenging, it's challenging to work in a sense.
Well, you know, Nita, it's for me now, it's not, because, you know, I just took each client as they came in the door. That's why I didn't get registered or licensed with, you know, a well, I have a PhD, but some of the licensing boards, you have to have certain accreditations. And I didn't go for licensing. I'm a sexologist, because I didn't want a board or an organization or the DSM telling me how to run my practice. And so each person that comes into me, I see them in their own unique you with you. And I'm not trying to label them or categorize them or put them in some kind of normal box, you know? Right. And so for me, I wasn't up against having to write up notes that please a board or, you know, that please other practitioners other than myself. And so I created my own intake, and I know what I'm looking for. And, you know, I just feel it's something I came in with. I chose for this life, this time around. And I feel grateful to be able to have done what I came here to do, because I was ahead of the times. I started this back in the 80s, putting hands on people and helping them to get in touch with a healthy you with you.
So the people that have dormant sensitivity in their body, have never had probably touch growing up, or, you know, very unaffectionate parents, or maybe there was abuse in the family and they came out frozen. So that created a lot of armor in their bodies. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a general massage just doesn't do it.
Right. And talking about it, certainly sitting across the desk and talking about it for 10 years doesn't do it either.
Right. And now you said you had some early training at Esalen Massage in Northern California. And what was that all about? You know, talk about that, why you did the work and where you, you know, how that relates to where you are. And,
yeah, boy, thank you for the history here, because I think it is interesting to see how it has evolved, because it has evolved where we are today, where you say integrative medicine and people know what that means. Like we're integrating all the body parts, or we're integrating maybe some chemical medications, but then we're also utilizing nutrition and exercise and maybe some homeopathy, you know, the integration. And I saw this coming back in, well, I started in the 70s, actually. I went and studied with the 7-Day Adventists. They were my first real introduction. I found out they were vegetarians, and even back in 1960, wow. 9, I started looking for vegetarian lifestyle, and some friends of mine said, well, the Adventists, our friends up the street, they're vegetarians. So I said, can I come to your church? And so I went to UG Pines, and I studied, I lived there for a month, and I studied charcoal therapy, which we see now today. I studied vegetarian diet and helped work in the gardens. I mean, it was really an experience. And I learned hydrotherapy, which, you know, some of these ancient wisdoms are coming back. And charcoal therapy, my family thought they were going to take my kids away from me. I had home births, and I was giving them charcoal water for tummy aches. And
wow.
But now
you did a lot of stuff. You did a lot early on.
we take these things for granted, but I just knew it. And I had to, I made everything my kids ate, everything. It was from a garden, or I belonged to this community. And we would go to the Pennsylvania Dutch farmers, and we'd buy, you know, baskets of watermelons and cantaloupes, and we'd bring them home. One of the members of the church had a dehydrator, and we dehydrated the watermelon and the cantaloupe, made candy for the kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just always been here for me. And like I said, I just feel so grateful to have been able to do this piece of me that I really believe I came in with, because I didn't get it from family. I didn't get it from any of my teachings in school, but at a very young age, I was committed to understand my body and the bodies of others. And that just led me to be here. I don't know if I answered your question. We kind of.
So your therapy's bridged. The trainings that are to bridge the therapy process between talk pros and touch pros, to bring a comprehensive wrap to clients. And that's basically what your goal is to bring that, to bridge that gap there for people who may have these specific challenges or whatever that is that they might have. They, as you say, am I normal if? So how do you get around that? You're bridging this whole, that's what you talk about here in a question. I haven't read any of the book yet, so I really can't ask you questions about the book, but tell me about the bridging of the therapy.
Well, that came about from in 1985, I started working at the Wayne Counseling Center, which I still hold an office there in King of Prussia, Valley Forge area. And Dr. Bill Staten and Carol Nettleton were progressive therapists. They were they are sex therapists. And Barbara Brennan's book, Hands of Light, had come out, and the kind of the community was buzzing with what she wrote as a nurse working with patients, and seeing that you can't just treat them with, external kind of medication stuff, or you have to touch people. And there is something that gets exchanged. She calls it the light of connection, or, what you feel when there is that special moment. Maybe you catch somebody, look them in the eye, and there's a place that you go that we can't explain. And there's a place that our hands can take us that we can't explain. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, I knew it was right. And I didn't understand energy like we do now. Like I'm saying, this was the 70s and the 80s. But I'll tell you one story, quick story that I tell everybody that convinced me we were on the right road. This woman came in, she was like in her mid 30s. She had lived with chronic neck and shoulder pain her whole life. And the docs gave up on her. Now, I don't know what doctors were doing back then. They didn't like chiropractors. They, weren't doing any kind of manipulation or massage work, or I don't know if they put her in traction or what they did with her, but they said, we can't find anything wrong with you. It's in your head. Go see a therapist. So she came in, and Dr. Carol did an intake, and she said, you need to have a session with Susan. So at that time I was down the hall. We were all under one roof, right? And we still are. We have body work practitioners at the Wayne office still today. There's 26 therapists there.
Wow, that has grown, huh?
I know. And I still hold an office there. When I come home, I have a space that I share with Michelle Angelo, Dr. Angelo, who has been with me since the beginning, practically too. Anyway, so she came in and fully clothed. I had her just lay down, face down on the massage table so I could get to her neck and shoulders. And my hands, I just, I didn't know what I was doing. My hands would take me somewhere, or I'd feel heat, or I'd feel coolness. And I'll tell you, Nia, she wasn't on the table, I don't think 15 minutes. 10, 12 minutes, I was led up to place my hands on her neck and shoulders. And that's what I did. I just stood there with my hands on her and giving her body permission to let go, or to tell us what's going on. she started to raise her arms up over her head, sobbing, having memory of being strung up in a barn as a child.
Yeah, so
then,
we embody this whole memory for years.
Right, we do. And so then she went to work with Dr. Carol and cleared the childhood trauma and continued to work with me for getting her back in her body. And that's how it all started. Like, then when I got my doctorate in 2000, I started to train people to do what I did. And that's why we have like 9 teams around the country now of integrative therapists who do all variations. I mean, I knew this work wasn't going away. You barely had a massage therapist around in early 2000, right? And Reiki was coming in, and reflexology and
yoga and all that stuff.
Right, everything was coming in, and now look at it. I knew it wasn't going away, but I had no idea it would be to this extent of growth. I mean, it's great, and the whole industry was changed as far as medical information, or they see the value, they're jumping on the bandwagon, but that therapy has changed so much now because there's so many modalities, and therapists are seeing it, that because clients are asking for it, clients are pushing the industry because they hear about it and it makes sense, and it's the future. I've been saying it since the 1980s.
Right. Well, you're ahead of your time with this, and I'm glad you put this book out. I mean, this whole topic is emotional. It feels very emotional to me. I mean, I'm a healer and a psychotherapist and everything. But when I was a little girl and I had rheumatic fever and I was in a wheelchair, and my body had swollen joints because of rheumatic fever, and there was no touch then, like they put us, they gave us medicine, they put us in the bed. But when I grew up and I went out into the world, it was only in the maybe 70s, and I found a massage therapist in Philadelphia at a chiropractor's office. And that's what made me go into the whole new age healing, psychotherapy.
Is that right? I don't know this piece.
You don't know this piece? Well, when I was in Children's Heart Hospital up on Conshohocken Avenue in Philly, was a hospital which is owned by Jefferson now, but for rheumatic fever patients and asthmatic patients. And I was in there in a wheelchair for 6 months.
What?
That's why I'm so I run around so much. I can't sit still, because being in a wheelchair and confined to a wheelchair for 6 months at the age of 9, you grow up and you never want to sit again. That's probably why I have so much energy to do things. But that part of me, I wanted touch. So when I went out grew up, I found the massage therapist in the 1970s in Philly. And I said, oh my God, my joints need a touch, because when you have rheumatic fever, your joints get swollen. So it was like a taboo to be touched. No one can touch you in the hospital. Regardless of the touch, where the touch, whatever, just touch. And that was the beginning of me learning about the memory in the body.
How about that? Wow.
And so this is it's a very emotional topic, because even working, like a lot of your patients are, I know, disabled in different ways, mental or physical, the disability, we all have the disability. We all have some form of disability or some frozenness about us. And touch is just so important. No matter what way you look at it, I love to touch people and I love to be touched. Right. And I feel, you work with people, we can touch them. So you got on this path because of, from all of that back then, and you were way ahead of your time then.
Yeah, and I just knew I had to keep going. Again, I just am so grateful to be able to have done what I came here to do, because it's been rewarding, and yeah, we're here. I feel like the book is a culmination of my life's work.
So tell me about the book. What well, I haven't seen any of the chapters on it. I don't have a copy of it, so I really don't know.
Oh, sorry, I could have sent it to you.
Yeah, but you can send it to me if you want a PDF, or you could send it or whatever, but I don't know what to ask you about it. So what are the chapters? Where does it begin? What are you talking about in there? Are you giving people techniques, or are you just talking about other people's stories in there?
It's mostly people's stories. When I had professorship, in 2000. That's when I started teaching. And I asked my students, because we had a form, not a form, but their first assignment was to fill out this questionnaire sort of thing, or it was more like a chronology of there's messaging around sexuality and their first masturbation experience, their first kiss, their first hand holding, their first intercourse, whatever those firsts are that kind of set us down the path to how we are with relationships in adulthood. And so that was their first assignment, to write down their stories. And then I asked them, I said, any of you that would be open to me keeping your paper or being able to use it if one day I wrote a book? And, I would, of course, make it anonymous. Well, over the years, over 20, 30 years, how long I've been doing this, I gathered a stack of, because Bill Staten and I taught, Widener, LaSalle, and wherever we went, running classes, sexuality classes. And this was always the first assignment. That's where I got it, from him. So I had this huge stack looking at me, and I'm like, I have to do this because it's people's stories. And I think in our therapeutic process, if we can see ourselves and other people, like I'm not the only one, or, this person got help and they are okay, or they had a worse history or a worse story than me, I think it helps us to take ourselves on, to stand for ourselves and not feel so not normal. But
Right.
use the word like, well, other people suffered like I did too. And that's what my message is. I want people to look at that book title and see themselves right away. Am I normal if? Because I think we've all been there.
Right. And not necessarily for the specific stories that you're telling. Am I normal if? It could be for anyone. People
Right.
that just have a uniqueness about them, or people that are, a little bit outside the circle rather than in the circle, of friends, say, and like they feel unaccepted, or they don't feel like they belong. I mean, so they feel, oh, I'm not normal. It's like a common saying that people say, oh, I'm not normal if I don't agree with everyone. But, it goes down to the level of almost politics in a way, in a sense.
And all the way up to all the diversities we have now, what the gay, lesbian people have gone through, the trans people, the cross-dressed people, and what do we have? LGBTQIA. I mean, it's opened up this conversation about diversity and what our humanity is made up of. I mean, we are all different colors, sizes, shapes, and diversity in how we love each other. And that's what nature is. No snowflake is the same. The leaves on the trees, the plants, the grasses, it's nature is diverse. And we have been asked to be put in these boxes to be acceptable. So I think it's really, the timing is good for the book, because it is a time where we are bursting and busting these old shoulds, and evolving. And I'm hoping that it's an evolution into us being different with each other and being different even with the planet. I mean, everything you look at is in some kind of trouble because of the way we've done it. So,
and for people to come to more terms with everything going on, that to accept, to have that the bridge that, like, it's okay. Because am I normal if, and it's I love the title. I mean, it's just like a really catchy title. And I like the color of the hands that come, the color of the rainbow color of the hands. That's so what else are the book? A lot of people's stories. And what else? Are there any, how many pages is the book?
I don't know. They're just now putting it into the size that they want it. It's been on 8.5 by 11. So my ghostwriter has it now at the editors to put it into, I don't know what the size is,
Okay.
9 by 6 or something.
And
Not sure.
this will be available on Amazon and all of those
Yes,
places, right? Yeah.
Amazon, Barnes Noble, and all the good places.
Right, because they farm it out. Now it'd be so there's people's stories in there. What else? You have any
Yeah. So the thing that as you asked me, what else, a couple times, and I'm thinking we really need to look at my thirds theory, which I do have trademarked, because I think it is the core of this work. So thank you for continuing to say what was, so what is the core here, you know?
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so I was just on this morning, Anita, I did a Zoom meeting or a Zoom filming of one of the first students I had at Monco in Pottstown, and she was sitting in the front row and like sitting on the edge of her seat and right there staring at me the whole time. And she ended up during class, and she ended up going to Widener and is now a sex therapist, and she's working with developmentally disabled kids. She took my position with the County of Philadelphia to work with DD folks, and also she identifies as male, born in a female body, and has, you know, diversity inside her relationships, that she was able to give herself permission to be who she was out of this work. And so it was fun. I was interviewing her now, and she's going to come do some work with us. And she was in this class where it was the early 2000s, and the gay question was the big topic. Now everybody's like, are people gay because they had absentee fathers, or because they want to get attention, or they're just, you know, making it up, you know, like all those things that we struggled with, like when somebody's not in that normal box. And these kids were out of high school, right? They're it's community college. And so and in a, you know, small coal miners kind of town. And so it was pretty intense. And I walked to the blackboard. Yes, we still had blackboards then. And I drew the peace sign. I drew a circle with a line down the middle and then the legs out. So you had like thirds.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Sign looks, yeah. And on one side, because everybody's like, is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it the way they were born, or is it the way they grew up? Like that's the only two categories that we at that time looked at. Now we understand, you know, more about DNA and epigenetics and how alcoholism and sexual abuse can be handed down genetically. You know, back then we didn't have this language. So I wrote, okay, here's nature. Here's how you're born. And here's what you get, 7 generations of DNA or genetic coding. You have no say over that. Here's the other half of what they look at, nature, nurture. So the nurturing is, where were you born? Were you born in the Bronx? Or were you born in Hollywood or in the Caribbean or Germany? You know, like you have no say over that, but you get certain developmental I can't think of the word, like developmentally, you don't have much say over how that affects you, where you live. Do your parents get along? Is there, you know, do they fight, or are you read stories at night or not read stories? It's your nurturing. Do you have parents you can go talk to, or you have to make your own dinner and, you know, sit and watch TV all night? Anyway, all those things that people report to me. This is where I do my intake. I want to know both of these pieces. And so I say, you don't have any say over that either. Like your nature nurture, you don't have any say over when you get here. But the third piece, the bottom of the peace sign, I named it Plain Damn You. And it just fell out of me. Like I wrote it on the board. I know, like I said, yeah, Tiffany was there when it happened. And we were just like, can you believe it? And like I said, I have it trademarked now, because the plain damn you is who you are, your fingerprints, your gifts to the world, you with you. And so then I drew lines up from the plain damn you, through the nature nurture, up to Maslow's hierarchy of self-actualized adult. And it just made sense, right? That's what we want. We come in with our own gifts, talents, and contribution to the planet. And if we're not doing our core, our self-actualization, no wonder we do alcohol, we do addictions, we do what we do, because we're trying to follow what the nature nurture.
Oh, right.
Isn't
There's
it
that
awesome?
thin line between nature and nurture.
Yeah, and we don't have any say over. We don't get to say, are we adopted? We don't get to say who we live with or where we live or how we're treated. But then that's what affects us, as we were talking about before, those first 5-7 years when you're only downloading information through your senses, the cognition, we don't have cognition on board till like 7 years old to make decisions or say, oh, my parents are just crazy, I don't have to.
Right, and so it's like life's a box of chocolates, right? You don't know what you're going to get.
There you go.
Right, and it's such a true statement. You really don't know. You're born into a family of alcoholic parents, or that give you no attention, and you're a little kid. Where are you supposed to go? Exactly. That's why teenagers run away and things like that. Or they turn to the streets, or they turn to drugs and alcohol, because that thin line between nature and nurture. But where's the resiliency? If they get that sprawn in them, that's some kind of, like, I call it the Philly sprawn. The Philly sprawn, like, hey, I'm gonna fight for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight for myself, because hey, I was born to have a life, but nobody sees the value of life. They just, like, my mom and dad didn't love me. Oh, they treated me bad. The sister or brother got more attention, and everybody becomes a victim. So nobody gets nurtured. But where is that? What was that statement you said? The person self-actualizing himself. What was that statement?
Self-actualized adult. Yeah, Maslow's theory.
But what was the statement you said? The last statement. You just said it. You are yourself, or something.
You with you.
Yeah. So creating yourself.
You.
Right.
That's the next chapter.
You with you. It's called you with.
Where we start. Yeah.
But then
the deal with you. Yeah.
So how do people go in the world if they haven't had the nurture, but are they able to find that strength, you see? And they're little kids and they're been abused. So where is, with the nature is there, or how do they get back to the nature? Where's the nurture? So this is what leads them in, say, to become a client of you, a client for you later on in life, right?
Right.
A client for us.
And Anita, that we're doing the body and the mind. Do you see the importance and the value? I mean, they're really split. They're not only split body and mind, they're split on such a level of of not normal. Right.
And that's your book, Am I Normal If?
Yeah.
That's how you got the title, in a sense, because they're not normal. Am I normal if? Because they're split so badly in that sense.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really I really hope this book makes it to a wide audience of people, because I think a lot of people can benefit from reading this.
A lot of people can identify, and that's why I'm glad you mentioned the cover. That's why it's like one hand reaching down to all the others. Do I fit in, and all the colors of all the diversity, and then we have butterflies around for transformation. So I think people will see themselves in there. I'm hoping.
So now the ideal clients, this was another thing here. Did you want to talk about who are my ideal clients, or no? Or did you talk about that?
They're all ideal. Anybody, and because I think we've all struggled with some piece that is, do I fit in? How do I fit in? When couples come in with marriages in trouble, everybody gets the same spiel.
Right, right.
I don't have a template for married people or gay people or trans people. Everybody gets the same work.
Because we're all the same.
I think we all get the messages are different, but we all get damaged in some way. And if we don't think we're damaged, there's a problem there too, because then there's, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, I shouldn't say that everybody's been damaged, but, and you sometimes don't find out where your broken spots are, if I can say that, until you get married or you get into a relationship. Then this stuff comes out too.
Right, because you open up more emotions then, and then they start to.
You're called on participating emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, that you weren't. It's not like you were called on before. And that's why, people say after that first year, the honeymoon's over, and because now you've settled into your old stuff. And
good thing I didn't get married. I'm still on the honeymoon.
I married enough for both of us.
Yeah, right. I'm still on the honeymoon of life.
There you go. Good for you. My next life I'm going to do. I hope I'm not coming back. I'm so glad I got to do what I came here to do. It's like, okay, universe, now I'm not coming back, right? I'm going to go to Venus and play, or I'll be somebody's guardian angel, but I am not coming back as a baby and a kid and starting over with this mess.
So here's another question I have. Why trust you? The longevity. Well, did you talk about some of this? Sex researchers, Bill Masters, Virginia Johnson.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Right. And so what kind of positive reactions from that people have generally from therapy? Are you seeing success in numbers, or?
There are some great stories in there. I mean, we've been to weddings. We've had babies named after us. It's
wow, interesting.
You take a guy that's in his 20s, he's still living at home and working at a pizza shop, and shows up in baggy kind of shorts or pants down to your knees with knee socks up to the knee. You get my picture there?
Yeah.
And we take them shopping. We teach them how to buy clothes. We teach them how to go out to dinner. Well, you know this.
Right.
We transfer. I'm just thinking of this guy in particular here from San Antonio. He moved out. He got accepted at a college, and he's doing like music recording and in the music world, and his whole life was changed at 26 or 27.
So sometimes they need the help, and it's a different type of help, and it's not something that they were exposed, had the opportunity with their upbringing. And going out into, people can go to therapist after therapist and never get really what it is that, and this is unique what you do.
It's because Anita, it's like the healthcare system. They have, okay, your liver is in trouble, we're going to give you these meds or do this. We don't do individual, and that's what we do with kids, raising them. Oh, this is good for the kids. Do this, and they're not looked at as plain damn you. They're just
plain damn you. That was it. The statement. Plain damn you. Right, because you're taking away. They're putting everybody in a box, like you said. And it's sad, but I hope this book and these stories in here, which I'm really excited to read some of them, can really enlighten people just to enlighten people in a way that opens their mind up to whether they experience any of this or not. It's learning something new. And just being there as part of the collective energy out in the world of something like this,
right?
Because it is important to be part of collective energy in anything that we do. But again, we have people that are not so open-minded, and
we're part of the collective energy, whether we want to be or not. It just depends on how we're affecting it or influencing it.
Right? How
it's affecting or influencing us. So, it goes both ways. But when you take yourself on And it's really loving yourself, saying, I am of value, I am of worth, my gifts and my talents are of value and worth. And, a lot of people don't get that, not only in their homes, but in you were asking me chapters. One of the chapters is on religions and what religions can do to steal away your you with you and how it affects. And the second chapter is you with others. So we work with you first and get you with you handled, and then the next phase is you with others. But inside of all that is, religion, and again, I say your first attractions, like how'd you get set up? If in first grade you remember Betty Sue, and these guys, they all remember the girl's first name. It's hilarious. Like right? You never forget that first girl. Oh yeah, Betty Sue. But I went up to her and I said, I like you. And she said, ooh, get away from me. And that did it. First grade, he was disconnected. Women don't like me. Never tried again until he got to my office, and whatever age he was at that time.
Yeah, we really needs to be more education on this, huh? Would you say?
Well, we need to not be so fearful. What we go through with people being raised, and they don't even know that their body parts names, right names. Okay, so did you get any education? Did anybody sit you down with a book? No. Yeah, I'm still getting that at this day and age. I mean, I know in the 50s, you didn't get 50s and 60s when we grew up, you certainly didn't get it. But today, nobody sits their kids down or says, I know this is out there, and they better know that porn's in the palm of every kid's hand.
Interesting. Yeah, it's well, it sure is a step ahead here, in the right direction of a book. Maybe it should be, this could be a book in schools, get it to some of the schools for.
Well, we've talked about it, making it into a kid's book, but let's see what happens.
Well, not exactly a kid's book, but for like maybe teenagers,
Yeah, true. Wherever, those early messages get landed. Yeah.
And also, the Lady Gaga Born This Way Foundation, they're doing a lot of things for mental health. There's something, look up the Born This Way Foundation. They have a whole mental health thing going.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's in the schools, and they have these kids, they wear the t-shirts, I'm a mental health healer, whatever. It's interesting. She's got and you might want to get her this book just for the heck of it,
I am.
Because it could be, if these kids with mental health are dealing with everything, transgender in schools,
right?
Drugs, everything. I mean, about being, and the identity is the big thing, the identity crisis now, and who they are, what they are. But anyway, this seems like I just kind of get a thing that she would be interested in this book.
Yeah, I have a focus. I want to get it on a TED Talk, and I'd like to get with Oprah. I think Oprah would be open to it.
Yes, our Oprah girl. So maybe just a little bit more. What are the 3 most important values? Did you want to say anything about that, or?
Well, I think we've really been
covered it. Yep, the values, the embracing the bodies as the best friend, finding the voice, and walking kindness, forgiveness for ourselves and others.
Yeah.
And I'm just going by some of your questions here. But, well, what else do you want to tell me about all this? Anything else that, before we wrap it up? Where can people find you, or where will you be? Will you be on display somewhere with a book? Will you be doing some traveling?
I haven't looked at any, going out and speaking about it, because COVID, it's kind of kept everybody closed up if things are opening up. I don't know, there's so much available online to get the word out, but we'll see. I would love to do tours. I am looking for somebody. I have a woman coming down from Pennsylvania who was one of my students, actually. When Bill and I when we had the Widener program at our office, we started Widener in our offices until we moved over. They had a place for us at the university. Anyway, Anita, her name's Anita too. She's a psychiatrist that came out of India, and they wouldn't let her practice her psychiatry here. And so she didn't want to study it again. And so she went through she goes, oh, I'll go study sexuality. So she ran into Bill's still speaking, and she ran into him at a conference of some sort, and she asked about me. So anyway, she called me, and she's very interested in maybe taking over my seat here as the incoming therapist.
In Pennsylvania, or?
Well, she's in Boston now,
Okay.
But it doesn't matter where you live today, you know?
Right. No, okay. So, all right. So you're still in touch with her then? No.
Yeah. So, well, this after all these years, but she was very thrilled. I've been asking the universe, like, I need somebody to replace me. But as we started out saying, you know, it's hard because a lot of it is my method or my intuition, or, you know, how do you ask the right question? That's what I say makes a good therapist. When you're the one that asks the right questions, that has them say to you, I've never told anybody else this before. And I would design for every client that has felt safe enough, and I asked the right question to tell me. So it's been a little bit, you know, letting go of, but it has to grow beyond me. I mean, I have to get out there with the book now and send people back to the staff and the team of people that are working with us. And so that's the new thing. Maybe have someone replace me with the intakes, but that I get out there and be able to do more.
Right. Well, this
more media. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I'm so glad we had this opportunity to talk about the book, and looking forward to seeing it out there. Can you tell us where people can find you? You've been listening to Discover Joyous Love. I'm your host, Anita DeFrancesco, and my guest today is Dr. Susan Kaye, who is the author of Am I Normal If? And she is a sexologist, sex educator, intimacy coach. She's all around the US, here around the world. You can please tell us, Dr. Kaye, how people can find you.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty easy. drsusankaye.com, DRSUSANKAYE. .com is the site that's just for me, and my dissertation's on there if folks want to read about surrogate partner therapy. It's a tab with me and Bill on the picture. So the dissertation has the basis and the core of this, how I came about working in a triadic model where we have neck up people. I call them neck up, or the talk pros, and then the neck down people are the touch pros. And inside of the surrogate partner model from Masters and Johnson, we have one of the corners of the triad is the therapist, or the neck pro, the talk pro, neck up pro. And then the other triangle is the touch pro, or
Interesting. Yeah, and it's a good combination. It works. It's really
so it's a triad. You know it. You understand it. So, why was I talking about that?
So you were just saying that people can where they can find you, and
where they can find me. Sorry. Yeah, I got off on the dissertation. Yeah, so it explains all this, how this came about out of my work with Masters and Johnson. And so, I have email, same thing, drsusankaye@gmail.com. I have people that run my social media. We have Facebook, IMBT, which is the Institute or Integrative Mind Body Therapies, IMBT International, I think, .org. If you Google me, I'm everywhere. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Susan Kaye, for this lovely interview today and this time. And I will be sure to promote this book because I am just can't wait to read it. Thank you. Discover Joyous Love, Anita DeFrancesco with Dr. Susan Kaye with her book, Am I Normal If? Thank you for tuning in. And that is it for today, folks.